As you can see, I'm trying to shape my channel around cybersecurity, all things information security, anything that has to do with privacy and privacy of your information, a little bit of financial, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of pop culture. I was reading this article a while back and I thought I'd make a video on it. So basically the NSA and CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they're basically responsible for our nation's security, testing, developing security standards and protocols to keep the US safe. They recently released the top 10 cybersecurity misconfigurations. For all of those who own a business or those who care about their home network security, they should pay attention to this. To be honest, I've worked in some organizations that have some of these vulnerabilities in them and they don't even care or even know them. As I go through them, I'll try to give a brief explanation on what they are and how to take steps to remediate them. The NSA and CISA are releasing this Joint Cybersecurity Advisory, CSA, to highlight the most common cybersecurity misconfigurations in large organizations and detail the tactics, techniques, and procedures actors use to exploit these misconfigurations. The thing I do not like about IT in general, it's the acronyms. We have so many acronyms for everything. It's quite mind-boggling. But anyway, through NSA and CISA red and blue team assessment, as well as through the activities of NSA and CISA Hunt and incident response team, the agency identified the following 10 most common network misconfigurations. When people refer to red and blue teams, they are referring to the activity that said cybersecurity team is conducting. They have multiple type of teams. They have gray team, black team, white teams. The number one misconfiguration is default configurations of software and application. This issue is simply like what it sounds. A lot of people, when they buy software or a piece of application, they just click next. For someone who's at home, maybe that works quite well, but if you are in a enterprise environment, it's very important that you go and apply security settings that reinforce the security standards that you have in place or policy that you have in place for your particular organization. Because a lot of these softwares have default passwords. Let's say, for example, a printer that has that you can access on the web, right? Where you can change a couple settings on the web, scan to email and things like that. They have a default password, and all a hacker or potential threat has to do is Google default password for, I don't know, Xerox model number X, Y, and Z, default password for Canon model X, Y, and Z. And it's very easy for you to find the default password for that. And if the password for that particular piece of software or application hasn't been changed, it's easy as that. You just plug in that password and you're in. It's the same thing for hardware as well. So if you buy a firewall, for example, they usually come with a default password. It's often spoken about, but people don't follow it for you to change the default passwords of things before adding it to your network. If you are configuring it or just labbing in a lab environment and not in a production environment, you can leave the default password. But if you're actually implementing it into production, it's very important for you to change the password. The second one they highlighted is improper separation of user/administrator privileges. This one simply means, so if you are a regular user at your organization, you know that you can, certain things you cannot do. And it's a mistake that I've seen multiple times where everyone has the rights to install software on their computers. Like they don't need any admins. They don't need like even an IT help desk to install a piece of software. This is also what they call separation. Like when you separate, who has privilege to do what. So improper separation of user and administrator privilege. Even for IT people, you should have different accounts. So personally, I have an account that's an admin account and a user account. So if I need to install anything or make any changes that's elevated, I would need to use my admin account. But for my everyday use, when I'm using my computer, I'm just a regular user. It doesn't have any access. If that account was compromised, you cannot do anything with it unless you use some kind of other factor to elevate that account. Okay. That's basically what that means. You should, like any admin should have a user account and an administrator account, and anyone who doesn't need an administrator account shouldn't have it. That's simply what that means. Where they don't have admins and they want to quote unquote reduce the annoyance of putting in tickets to install software, they just bypass this and everyone is an administrator. Even their service or utility accounts just are running full admins and just running wild. To mediate this, literally, if they don't need, it's the principle of least privilege. If they don't need admin access, don't give them admin access. And if you have an administrator, your sysadmins, your network admins, and your help desk, they have two separate accounts, one as a user and one as an administrator. Number 3, insufficient internal network monitoring. Network monitoring is basically tools that, let's say, for example, Arctic Wolf, which is an endpoint monitoring system. So basically all it does is it monitors your network. It monitors a lot of things that sits on your endpoints. It monitors the traffic that flows in and out. It's not the same as an antivirus. Antiviruses, by the way, are being replaced by EDR and XDRs and so forth and so on. But it just monitors your network. It sends you alerts if something unexpected happens, unexpected traffic, unexpected packets coming in, like anything that's out of the norm, because a lot of things are normal. On an everyday basis, your users do the exact same thing almost every day without deviating from what they're doing. Okay, so an internal network monitoring just monitors what's going on, what's coming in and what's going out. And a lot of companies don't even have that in place. They just set up a box and let everyone be free. Some good network monitoring tools, you can use PRTG, Nagios is an okay one, YSU, which is a log type of network monitoring that tells you everything that's happening. YSU is a very cool tool that you can implement. And if you can implement it, hire an administrator who can. And some of these don't necessarily apply for home users. As a home user, you wouldn't need to purchase a whole internal network monitoring system, although a lot of them are free, like YSU. YSU is a free application that you can use. Number 4, lack of network segmentation. Network segmentation is just what it sounds like. You're segmenting or separating your network into different things. For example, if you have your IT department, it could be in something we call VLANs. So most networks are segmented in what we call VLANs, which means that it's a separate network that they do not touch. Take, for example, my apartment building and all these separate neighbors that I have. Yes, we live in the same apartment building, but we all have different separate network and they do not see what's going on out of my network, right? So network separation or segmentation is simply, you could put your IT department in a separate network, your marketing department, your whatever departments you have, you can put them each in separate network and the traffic do not ever intersect, or they do not go out the same LAN, quote unquote. So that can be like, a lot of modern organizations already implement this. It's like one of the first few things you do when you are doing a network. So if things do not need to meet each other or they do not need to talk, don't let them talk. Like your servers do not need to talk to your IoT devices. For some companies that have, IoT devices in places, don't do it. For home users, I personally have this done, and I might do a show and tell on how to do it. Like if you have your Alexas, it doesn't need to see the traffic going in and out of your, let's say, my PlayStation where I'm playing video games. They do not need to talk to that. They do not need to talk to my VLANs or on my computer. Like, right? There's traffic that need to intersect. It doesn't need to know what's going on there. That's just basically what that means. Number 5 is poor patch management. Patches are very important. And they have what they call Patch Tuesday, which is the second Tuesday of every month that Microsoft release patches. That's just for Microsoft, but every org or every company that has software or hardware has patches, which is something that companies release to address vulnerabilities or 0-day vulnerabilities or hacks, things that people can use and exploit to hack whatever software or hardware that it is. It's very important to patch those things as soon as they become available, because even your iPhone, like those iOS security updates, those are patches. They are patching things that they didn't get right the first time. Let's just say that, or things that they discovered wasn't right the first time with the code or with the misconfiguration or backdoors, things like that. That's just what that means. And that's one of the easiest things to do because it literally push it for you. All you literally have to do is click install. So that's very easy. For home users, make sure you install your updates, install your phone updates, install your firewall, your router updates. Most of the time, whatever company you have, AT&T, whatever bozo you use for your ISP, right? They sometimes auto update your router for you, but it's very easy for you to go to your router and look and see if there are any updates. That's the best way for you to stay safe on that end. Number 6, bypass of system access control. So ACLs are basically just that, access control. So like let's take, for example, if you are coming to my apartment, you'll need a key fob for you to beep in to get into the door, right? Access control is just that, like, do you have access to that system? Like, what can get in, what cannot get in? Let's say a person move out of this apartment and they take the key fob with them. They can deny that key fob access. Like, they can implicitly deny that key fob access. Like, you cannot get in even though you do have a key fob for this apartment. That's basically what that means. Like, some companies don't even implement this at all. So like, all traffic gets in and all traffic gets out. For users at home, the easiest way to do this is by MAC address. So for example, and this could be more complicated, but it's very easy for you to log into your router. Again, I can do videos on these things if it's necessary. All you have to do is find the MAC addresses that your devices have and allow only those devices access to your network in general. So if somebody connects to somehow found your Wi-Fi password or whatever, they cannot access anything unless they are in this access control list, which means that they have like implicit access to your network. Number 7, weak or misconfigured MFA method. That is something that I'm actually currently working on, like at work. MFA is very important. It's very important to have MFA implemented, whether or not you're using Authenticator or using Duo or whatever system that you are using, because if your password somehow gets cracked, MFA is a completely second different system said user or hacker will need access to in order for them to gain access to said account. And that's just that. MFA is that code that you can say to FA as well, is the code that you receive when you're logging into your bank or when you log into a different app, or it's the thing that you receive that you have to click yes to access to. And a lot of you have the option for most of the apps that you use at home personally. Like YouTube has it, Google account has it. They also have Passkey now, which is a new technology that you can use. Basically, use MFA. It's very important, and it's the first in few steps that you can do to significantly reduce your attack surface. Number 8, insufficient access control list on network shares and services. Network shares are what they call network drives. Like like when you at work and you have this big file where everything is stored and everyone has it on the computer, what they call the L drive or P drive, Z drive, X drive, whatever you call it at your organization, right? That's basically that. So again, access list is who have access to that and who can access it. So basically, the marketing department do not need access to the finance department unless they need to collaborate on said file. Then they could get access to that file, and then that access can be taken away. So basically, giving people access to what they need, not giving them access to more than they need, which is, again, least privilege principle. That's pretty easy. I don't know if you can do that at home. That wouldn't be necessary unless you're running some kind of organization in your house. That one mostly applies to like organization because they have a lot more data, they have a lot more collaboration going on, and more people, moving from file to file. Number 9 is very important. It's poor credential hygiene, which means how your passwords are stored. Poor credential hygiene could mean different things. It could mean how your passwords are stored, the length of the passwords or the complexity of the password that you are using. Personally, I use a password manager for my own personal thing at home, and at work, they also have password managers, and the complexity requirements at work are pretty extensive. I think it's 13 characters. You can include a lot of variety of characters, spaces, and all of that stuff. At home as well, especially if you don't have to remember every single password, use a different password for everything. Try to use spaces, try to use exclamation points, whatever. Use @ use whatever symbol that you like, as long as the website supports it. This is the easiest, one of the easiest ways to stay ahead. Like, don't reuse your passwords. Use a password manager because that makes it easier. Don't use LastPass or any of these crappy ones. If it's possible, use one that you maybe can host. That requires a lot more work, but at least you have more control over it. Or use something that's in the cloud that's trusted and reputable. At home, You can use your iPhone. Your iPhone has a password manager on there. You can use something like Zoho. It's free. There are many ones besides LastPass that you can use. If you're in IT, you know LastPass. You know the joke from last. You know the LastPass joke. Anyways, for users at home, you can use your iPhone. You can use Zoho. I think they are pretty reputable. There are many options for you out there that's free. You can also go to your app store and find one. Number 10, it applies more to a enterprise environment, unrestricted code execution. So if you ever use PowerShell and you try to, let's say, run a script on your system, you'll probably get this restricted code execution, like your organization doesn't support or allow you to run script. The organization doesn't allow you to run script as a regular user. So you would have to start PowerShell as an administrator for you to get access to said thing. So this is real, because I worked at a company that anyone and everyone and their mama could just open PowerShell and run any scripts and if you know anything about scripting, there are so much that you can do with PowerShell, like so much information that you can gather, so much things that you can staff. Let's just say it's in the best interest of every company to restrict this. And if you don't know how to do it, get in contact with an MSP that can help you out. Get in contact with somebody with the knowledge to help you restrict this. If you'd like to get abreast of all this information, you can feel free to read a lot of this by yourself. Otherwise, thanks for checking out this video and watching it through. If you made it this far, yeah, it's been your boy the Yapper. Yap on. Catch you next time.